To the members of our Board of Trustees, I want to thank you for that opportunity to make a presentation to you. I've entitled my presentation, Vision 2015. And during this presentation, I will give you my answers to two questions which I, as your superintendent, feel need to be answered. Number one, where do we want to be 4 years from now? And number two, how do we get there from here? Before I attempt to address each of these questions, let me provide some context to my remarks. I am very happy to be here. In fact, there is nowhere else I would rather be right now than right here. For 36 years, I worked across the Broad River in a school district that competes with District 5. And for 33 of those 36 years, I worked in district administration, actively competing with District 5 for the best teachers and for residents who would support our schools and entrust us to educate their children. As I told the District 5 staff at our Back to School rally on August 16th, during the time I worked across Broad River, I always looked upon District 5 with great envy and some puzzlement. The reason for the envy was this. District 5's test scores were almost always the best in the Midlands, and usually among the best, if not the best, in the state. The reason for the puzzlement? What made those significantly great test scores possible? Was it the DNA of the students here, or was it just incredibly good luck? After I arrived here, my puzzlement about the high level of student performance ended. I quickly learned that the explanation was neither good luck nor just simply DNA. Instead, the good performance is due to a combination of schools that are laser focused on teaching and learning and incredibly supportive and involve parents and community. Now that I've been here for several months, I'm still puzzled, but for a different reason. My puzzlement has shifted from how do the schools get such good results to why is there so much dissonance in such an enviable, consistently high-performing school district? Based upon my conversations with hundreds of people over the past several months, I have reached this conclusion. The dissonance is created by two major factors: mistrust of the district on the part of some, perhaps many, members in our community, and by feelings of fear of the district and fear of some members of our community on the part of our employees. Thus, I believe my challenge as your superintendent can be summed up in this four-word phrase: restore trust, eliminate fear. Now back to the two immediate questions I wish to address this evening. I would hope and anticipate that we can all agree to the answer to question number one. Where do we want to be in 4 years? But I believe we must first acknowledge those issues which prompt those feelings of mistrust and fear before I address question number two. How do we get there from here? So first of all, where do we want to be in 4 years? By 2015, Lexington-Richland Five will not only continue to be recognized as a world-class school district here in the Midlands and in South Carolina, but will also be recognized as a world-class school district all across our nation and around the world. By world-class, I mean being a system where teachers have the setting and resources they need to do their best work, and where students have the setting and instruction they need to perform at their optimum level to compete globally. I cannot envision how any of us would want anything else less for our students. So how do we get there from here? Well, first of all, we in the district must aggressively seek to earn broader and deeper trust among the members of our community and to merit the confidence and respect of our employees. While I'm not responsible for any perceived or actual wrongs or missteps of the past, I accept responsibility for ensuring that the current actions of the district are actions that are worthy of trust and respect. While it is a given that the recommendations that I make and the actions that I take will not be pleasing to all at all times, I pledge to you that I will always act honorably, respectably, respectfully, truthfully, and in good faith. And I will always expect that all of those on my team adhere to those same principles. I also understand that given the feelings of mistrust that exist in our community, we must modify and or expand many of our traditional reporting procedures. For example, we are expanding our financial reporting to include project accounting reports as well as the traditional governmental accounting reports. We want to ensure that the public is confident that we are excellent stewards of the funds with which we've been entrusted. Secondly, we must confront our brutal realities. In his landmark book, Good to Great, Jim Collins distinguished great organizations from good ones. One of the major differences, he concluded, is that organizations the great organizations are one that will embrace what Collins calls the Stockdale principle. You may recall that Admiral Stockdale was the highest ranking and one of the longest surviving POWs during the war in Vietnam. When asked what made him a survivor, Admiral Stockdale responded, "You must maintain an unwavering faith that you can and will prevail in the end, and at the same time have the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality, whatever they might be." Great organizations acknowledge their brutal realities. I believe there are at least 5 brutal realities we must confront. 1, the economy has changed. There's no question that our district is feeling the impact of today's economy. While compared to the rest of South Carolina, we have a small percentage of students eligible for free and or reduced lunch, but our percentage of qualifying students is increasing. Just as we expect no less of our students in school when their economic situations at home change, our students should expect to receive the same quality of education from us at all times. Unquestionably, we must redouble our resolve to ensure that we maximize the effectiveness of the limited resources we have. Number 2, another brutal reality. Our growth in student enrollment is flat. Missy Wall Mitchell, our Director of Accountability, will present an enrollment report later in this meeting showing that our enrollment is indeed flat. For state-funded students in kindergarten through grade 12, we're down by 45 students, approximately 2 students per school, while our overall enrollment in the pre-kindergarten through grade 12 is virtually unchanged, down by only 2 students from last year. While our enrollment is flat, it is important to note that we currently still need 115 portable classrooms to serve students today. Thankfully, 31 of those portables are at Irmo Elementary and will be replaced with permanent space next year. But even when you back out Irmo Elementary, we still have 84 portable classrooms in use for student instruction today, which equates to approximately 1,800 students, in addition to the students at Irmo L in portables each day. We can take pride in the progress we're making in replacing these temporary classrooms with permanent classrooms. Just a few years ago, I am told we had approximately 3,000 students in portables or in non-classroom spaces such as stages for instruction. Thanks to the additions and improvements at Seven Oaks, Leapart, Chapin Elementary, and Irmo Elementary, we have succeeded in reducing that number significantly. Yet we must not rest until we have an appropriate permanent classroom space for all students. Number 3, it is easy to confuse facts with the truth. In his book, 1 Minute of Your Time, Bryant Wright, a USC graduate and now who pastors a church in the Atlanta area, includes this story in that book. Quote, "A pastor went to visit a woman in his church before serious surgery. As he walked into her hospital room, he found her in the arms of a man who was not her husband. Stunned and embarrassed, he silently walked out. Later, he discovered that this woman's brother had flown in from California to comfort her before surgery. The pastor later said, "I could have told others that I saw that woman in the arms of a man who was not her husband, and it would have been the facts, but it would not have been the truth." Various communiques sent via the internet often do this in reporting what is happening in the district. Those reports confuse the facts with the truth. This results in half-truths, which are really the worst form of lies because they're so believable. Libel and slander are big on facts and short on truth. So the next time any one of us hears or reads something bad about the district, let's make sure we have more than just the facts. Let's make sure we always have the whole truth, for it's easy to confuse the facts with the truth. Number 4, the ongoing controversy concerning the planned improvements and additions at Chapin High School is having a negative impact not just on Chapin High School, but also on our entire school district and community. The controversy we have regarding Chapin is taking its toll, a major toll. I know that it's hurting us with teacher recruitment, and it's making recruiting new families and students to our community more difficult. Others tell me that the controversy is hurting efforts to recruit businesses and to sell residential and commercial property. I've even been told that this issue is even having a negative impact in our churches. Unquestionably, for the good of our district and the entire community, we need to bring closure to this issue as soon as possible. Number 5, our district faces greater competition than ever before. Let's face it, we are not the only game in town. We have competition like never before. Private schools, parochial schools, charter schools, virtual schools, and other public schools. I submit to you Exhibit A this evening, which is the front page of the Metro section of the state newspaper from Wednesday, August 17th of this year. On one whole side of the page, there's an article about a district with which we compete next door to us, where they're talking about their technology, their health sciences program, and their Chinese immersion school. The day before, there was a big article on another one of our competitor districts where every student is issued an iPad, moving them to a situation where they're moving away from all the print, moving away from much of the print textbooks. And that district has since that time, approved $8 million, $8 million, so they can go to one-to-one computing next year. Now, what's on the front page about us? There's an article here called "A Chicken in Every Irmo Yard." This is the story about our community. Now, I grew up on a farm in rural southeast Missouri. We had chickens. I love my parents, I love my grandparents, I love my aunts and uncles, and I love my neighbors, and we all had chickens. But I'm here to tell you that we will not build our future as a community by building it on how many chickens we can have in our yard and our community. It will rest with the success of our schools.